2025 has been an absolute crazy year, and it seems like we're going to be ending off on a really high note in more so for the movie industry. So what's happening is that Netflix is buying Warner Brothers for $72 billion, and it seems like that Warner Brothers has essentially taken the deal, but Paramount has stepped in to do a hostile bidding war essentially, and Paramount has offered like 100 and something $1 billion, which is absolutely crazy because Netflix is already basically just a monopoly for online streaming services. Like, there's just no other online streaming service that even comes close remotely to Netflix in any way. Like, in terms of net worth, in terms of production, connections with actors, screenwriters, so on and so forth. And them taking over or buying out Warner Brothers is pretty concerning for the movie industry since Warner Brothers is a very legendary studio. They've been around for essentially a century at this point. So Netflix buying Warner Brothers is pretty concerning because the movie theaters is already pretty it's already dying. Like, there's less people that's going pretty much every single year and whatnot. So if Netflix acquires Warner Brothers and Paramount can't please the investors or whatever, then it's going to put a lot of damage into the movie industry, especially since Paramount wants to acquire or to reserve Warner Brothers to be its own independent studio, I guess, because Paramount wants competition, which is completely fair considering pretty much every big, massive corporation or company just doesn't want competition. Like how for the gaming industry, like Sony has been buying and Microsoft has been buying pretty much every single studio. And then if like one game developer, one indie game studio, like Helldivers, for an example, that just absolutely pops off with a game, they immediately just want to go and buy it because they just don't want any form of competition. Unless if it's something like Microsoft versus Sony, then that's the only competition that they want. So in the movies industry, it's essentially the same thing to an extent, like online services versus traditional movies, where the movies goes into the movie theater first for like the first month or so, and then they have to wait until it hits the online services. So if Netflix does buy Warner Brothers, this is essentially going to change pretty much everything and just going to do significant damage in the movie theaters because Netflix, I don't see them really putting movies in theaters that much. Like maybe for some IPs, but then they're just going to create a lot of TV shows out of pretty much everything that Warner Brothers has. Every streaming service like HBO Max and whatnot, they're just going to chuck right in the bin. And then if like let's say that Paramount fails, right? Because here's the thing with Paramount. Paramount has the Elson family that's backing them up, which the Elson family has a net worth of $400 billion, and they're already putting one fourth of their net worth into helping Paramount, or that they're doing a combined share. Like like the Elson family puts $50 billion, and then Paramount puts in $15 billion together into creating the hostile bidding war. But let's say that Paramount loses the bidding war and Netflix just acquires Warner Brothers off rip, right? What does this mean for the future? Well, pretty much everything's going to be going online service. Like the production is going to be more online stream focused, and then movies that's going to be in theaters, they're going to last less in the theaters. So like rather than like let's say a month, right, that a movie's in the theater, it's now going to be 2 weeks because people are just going to be waiting for the movie just to enter the online service, which in turn means that for Paramount, they're going to have to be competitive in that aspect. And then if Paramount's going to be doing that, then Disney's going to be doing that. And then all these other studios and whatnot is just going to be all going in towards this. And then I just at that point, like, there's just gonna be like, let's say in like 15 years, where there's just gonna be so few movie theaters left over because everything's just gonna be online now. And who even knows how that's going to affect movies as a whole? Like, let's say that, the next Marvel movie or superhero movie comes out, whatever. Let's say if they put in 50 million, all those tickets that gets bought to see that specific movie all goes back towards that specific movie. But with online streaming services, it works differently because now you have, let's say that the online service, they upload 10 movies that month. All the monthly subscriptions, the monthly subscription that people pay for that month all has to go to them. So let's say for the 10 movies that went out that month, all the money that came in that month all goes towards those 10 movies, and then it all trickles down to like the screenwriters, the actors, so on and so forth, to make their ends meet back. But this entire situation is just so unfortunate just because Warner Brothers is just an icon in the movie industry, and Warner Brothers has legendary IP like Bugs Bunny and just the Looney Tunes as a whole. Tom and Jerry, once they bought Hanna Barbera in 1996, I believe it was, and just overall all of these other IPs that they've gotten over the century. It would just absolutely just be ashamed if Netflix does outright buy them. And what's even crazier as well, on top of that, Netflix also wanted to buy Disney along with EA. Well, now they can't buy EA anymore, but Disney, I think they stopped pursuing to buy Disney, also likely just because there's no way that Disney would sell their IPs to any other corporation ever. Like, Disney is a greedy company and is a monopoly. There is just no amount of money that I can imagine that Disney would happily sell their IP for. But who knows, maybe if Netflix does get a hold of Warner Brothers, and then maybe once, they make their income and they make their profit from acquiring Warner Brothers and whatnot, maybe they'll go after Disney in the future. Who really knows? But that's just my yap about this situation. So that's really about it.